At CYC, we've just had the weather briefing. We've just run into David Witt from Scallywag, one of the 5 Maxis in the race, and one could say he's sort of wound up like a spring.
I'm not wound up, Jeffrey. I'm just frustrated that common sense doesn't get applied a lot here. But, you know, hopefully they might change their mind by Boxing Day.
What's the story here, David?
Well, as you know, in the sailing instructions, when you get to Gobo Island, you've got a radio on your SSB to make sure you're all safe, everyone's in good shape. And as the bushfires, we know the bushfires and the smoke in the atmosphere is creating a lot of trouble with the SSB signal. So if you can't get through on your SSB, you're disqualified.
You can't go.
And that would be a tragedy for any boat, really, but especially us, with the money the boss has spent and the money he spends to bring the boat out here on a ship from Europe. And I just don't understand why common sense can't prevail, and we just can't use. We'll obviously try on the SSB and hopefully we'll be fine, but if one of the boats couldn't, they've all got sat phones. Why can't you just call on the sat phone to give your position? And it's the same deal. I'm not saying the sat phone needs to be the primary usage, but it should be able to be used as a backup. It's in the sailing instructions. We've got to carry them.
Yeah.
So you know, common sense doesn't seem to be very common.
Mate, there's always something, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always something.
You spent a lot of money putting this boat together, doing all the things, and now we're into a situation like this. Mate, what have you done this year to make sure that you're competitive?
Oh, we've sailed the boat more than anybody, and you know, we've got new wardrobe and from Norse and new rudders. We'll be competitive, Jeff.
I know. Mate, how do you see the end of the race? Do you see yourself?
Oh, I think everyone will be there or thereabouts by the time you get to Tasman Light, and then it's looking pretty light across Storm Bay and up the Derwent. So I think that whoever can perform, put the boat in the right spot, will win the race. But see what happens.
Mate, good luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Cheers.
With Chris Nicholson from InfoTrack. Chris, welcome to the 75th Hobart race. And, I'm sure you enjoyed the cake.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, a little early in the morning for me for eating cake though.
Wasn't it Marie Antoinette said that let them eat cake? And then they gave you knives. Yeah. I thought, well, that's it's a bit
give it the
with those 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Giving them knives.
Yeah, but you notice they wouldn't give Whitty a knife.
No way. No. Well, he's wound up like a spring today. He's ready to pounce on anybody and everything. Now, mate, out of 1 to 5, you're the oldest and the most travelled, and it's had so much happen to that boat. That boat's just a story in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you also look at the other boats, they all have their issues along the way. You know, it was only a month or 2 ago Oates had a pretty big structural failure. You know, like they're cutting edge boats, pushing limits in all kinds of areas. So these things happen. It's about you know, recovery from past ones and being in good shape for the race. And certainly, you know, InfoTrack's got a great shore team and structure there behind it, and a great race team as well. It's pretty much most of the guys from last year. So we've got some continuity, and we've had a pretty good lead up. We did Cabbage Tree and Bird Eye, and we broke some things. Some of it sort of, you know, operator error. But we've worked through all that, and the boat's as good as I've seen it, and the crew's as good as I've seen it as well. And you know, and we seem to be going. We seem to be going pretty quick compared to the other guys.
You beat Blackjack, didn't you?
Yeah, and also in conditions that probably not our strongest. You know, we needed a bit more breeze.
Light, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we've been happy with how it's going. It's a little tricky though. You need enough breeze to get going, which you have a big masthead 0, and you can pretty much get going in most breezes. But when we stop, we really stop.
Don't you? Yeah.
So it's just all about being able to keep some average, keep some momentum going.
Well, she's got a huge beam, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big girl.
How
big is she across the?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it looks
like a boat length.
Feels like a football field down the back.
And how does she draw?
It draws 6.8.
6.8.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's a fair bit of wet at surface, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and also in the harbour, you know, we're a little bit more restricted. You know, there's some shallow sections in the harbour that we have to be aware of. So getting out of the harbour is a little bit more tricky as well.
Well, yeah, you've got the two narrow boats, which is Wild Oats and Blackjack, and then you've got the two fat boats, you and Comanche, and
Yep.
then you've got Witty with his number.
Yep.
So
Yeah, a little in between.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting grouping, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fascinating. You know, last year there was 4 of us there. You know, within sight of each other at the finish, and it could have well actually even been closer. So. Yeah, you know, I think, but the one thing is, you know, when you're strong, you want to be like very strong. So I think we might hopefully see some reaching conditions and running conditions in this where
You'll come to the fore, won't you?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think once we're through the transition, hopefully we'll see some tighter angles and some reaching, and you know, you can do some damage to boats on that. But we've got to get through the lighter air stuff.
What are they predicting on race day?
Sort of 15 to 20 northeast, getting out the heads. So be quite spectacular. A lot of boats on the starting line, and a lot to
157. Tacking into a nor'easter.
Yeah, and even, you know, like people go, oh, you know, there's 20 boats on our starting line, but which doesn't sound like a lot, but when 5 of them, you know, if you join them together, it's 500 foot long. There's plenty going on.
And doing 23 knots, something like that.
Yeah.
The closing speeds are great, aren't
Yeah,
they?
and plus, you know, it's funny, you know, we haven't had a big boat day, so we haven't had just, you know, a little bit of practice of that manoeuvring with so many boats in a tight spot. So, yeah, you know, you'll be looking back through your notes and keeping things pretty calm.
So, how many crew are you taking?
We're taking 19.
19. Oh, that's
actually, you'll have to rub that out. I think
you're just
20.
telling fibs,
could be
you
21.
Don't really know, do you?
Oh well,
do you miss people on the boat? You think, well, whatever happened to Bill? Is he here?
No. We certainly number off quite often, so we end up on race day knowing exactly who and where.
Yeah, that's great, mate. It looks like it's going to be a great race for you guys. There's been a lot of interest in what happens at the head of the race. So.
Yeah, there is, but as you know, like for the Tattersalls trophy is going to be interesting. No one, you know, that's a hard one, but you know, there's some pretty cranked up programs there, and but you know, it's amazing again that we're in another downwind race to Hobart.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and also too, they're talking about a heavy blow from the tail end of the fleet. Too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's where they make all their time up.
Yep. Pretty strong southerly.
On you guys.
Yeah. Well, breeze towards the end before a southerly, I think, on the Monday.
Talking about light into Dillon for you.
Yeah, possibly, but you know, that'll firm up a little bit more in the next day or two. You know, one step at a time at the moment.
So, what are you planning for 2020? What's your main focus there?
We've been super busy with door sales here in Australia now for the last year.
Good.
Yeah. No, it's been a busy time, and a lot of boats, but a lot of technology and a lot of development, which has been the fun side of it. So that's been good for us, and you know, so we'll push that along again in the new year. And you know, I'm also doing some ocean race sailing on a 65 overseas in the summer in Europe, and you know, super yachts and maxi boat regattas around the world.
The TPs, are you doing the?
No.
For the 44s or?
No, I wouldn't mind doing the TPs, but you know, like it's the fleet where you gotta be able to give it your whole focus.
Commit, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's such a high level.
As you say, Doyle's here, there's a lot of boats carrying the grey sails now, aren't they?
Yeah. The technology is the thing that's sort of, I think, separated us apart. Like we've made, the brand's made leaps and bounds in the last sort of 5 years, and right now, it's even from, I look at some of the sales we did last year and to this year, we've made big gains, and it's funny, sometimes you don't even see those gains when you're doing it day in, day out, but they're there and they're very real, and it's great to pass that on.
Well, it's good to see the sport going that way, Chris, because those sorts of innovations, as you say, it happens from here, the elites down through into the clubs to cruise.
And it's absolutely, and it's just great to see just more competition in the field. Is what it is about. Like, competition drives everything.
Innovation,
yeah, exactly, and drives in life, in business, and sport. So I think it's great.
Mate, say hi to Christian for us, and say have a good trip down there.
Yeah,
and
we'll do.
Hope to see you right up there at the front and giving them all hell, mate, as usual.
You bet.
Good on you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Nico.
Cool.
With Jim Cooney, the owner of Comanche. Now, Jim, when you bought Comanche, did you ever think you'd see 5 of you guys heading towards Tasman Line?
No, it's going to be a very close race this year, and not something that you see anywhere else in the world. You don't see 500 footers on the line anywhere else, let alone on the finish line together, and I think it's very likely that's where we might be this year.
They're all talking the same, or playing from the same songbook, aren't they?
Yeah.
All the skippers.
Well, yeah, the boats are all sort of converging, I guess. The skinny boats are trying to get a bit fatter, and the fat boats are trying to get a bit lighter. I think come early on the 27th or midday on the 27th, whenever it is we get through the transition, the race is going to start again at that point, because whatever gains we might have been able to make, and our goal is to put some miles on the others in the early stages of the race. We know that we're going to struggle through the transition against the others, so I think you might see the race start again once we get to the Sutherland.
You're going to be in light airs to start off with, I believe. What forecast?
It's not looking too bad. I think we'll see 10 knots, maybe 12 in the harbour, and then hopefully sort of 15ish once we get out through the heads. That's plenty. That's all we need. We can when we've got that much breeze and with a big sail up, we'll be heeling at 22 degrees. That's enough to get half the hull out of the water, and then at that point,
what sort of speed?
She lights up. Well, if we have 20 knots of breeze, then we'll probably be 24, 25 knots of boat speed.
Spectacular, isn't it?
It's great fun.
Did you envisage to have this sort of excitement in your sailing life?
No, I didn't. My first offshore racing I did was on an SNS 34 up at Prince Alfred, and when we if we could make 6 knots to windward, we were happy. I think once we saw the dial get to 12 knots down a wave. With the big spinnaker up, so I never expected to end up doing something like this from those days.
It certainly is a weapon, isn't it?
It's an incredible machine, and it is it's a wonderfully exciting boat. One of the most impressive things about it is just the agility she shows once she gets up and running. It behaves like a skiff. It drives easily. She skips across the waves, and you wouldn't think you were in a 100-footer.
You've got a crew of how many?
There'll be 19 of us this year,
of
which a quarter will be Coonies. So I'm pleased to have.
Of course, a
lot of family on board.
All there, yeah. So you've got your son and your daughter.
Yeah, and Samantha, my wife.
And Samantha, your wife. She's excellent. And you've got Stan Honey back with the navigation?
Yes, that's right. We missed Stan last year because of an injury, so we're delighted to have him back on board this year. We've just done the Transpac together, and good to have him back for the Hobart. There's nobody that knows that boat better than Stan, and
it's part of him, isn't it?
It is one of the not only one of the best navigators in the world, but such a lovely fellow to sail with as well. Indeed.
Now, talking about the Transpac, how did you rate that?
Transpac was a great experience. It was very intense. It was hard work. Shipping the boat over there took a lot of work, and then 2 weeks of putting it back together, a couple of weeks of training and race prep, and then 6 days of the race, 2,500 miles. That's almost 4 times the length of the Hobart race.
Sure.
So it puts it in perspective. Not that I'm up there with the Volvo guys who go out for 8 weeks at a time, but 6 days does test your crew endurance and your thought process and your tactics quite a bit more than a race like this. Different things to deal with Hobart. You've got transitions and different winds and different currents, so there's a lot more to think of in navigation terms.
You think you'll take the boat back to the Northern Hemisphere?
Oh, I think there's a good chance. It was a great experience this year, and very satisfying to see how well she does in the conditions she was designed for, which Sydney Hobart is not what she was designed for.
What about Europe? The past those races?
I think there's all of those things. Comanche's done all of those races before and done well, so there's a good prospect that we might do that this year or next year.
Well, good luck.
Okay.
Fair winds, as they say. I hope it gets to you, and we'd love to see that boat at full speed.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks a lot. Mark Bradford from Blackjack, mate. 2 days out, you've got the forecast, light weather. You're the one.
Yeah, well, look, that said, it's light, but these boats not so much about wind speed. For sure, the transition will be in our family of boats' favour, and that's not just us, that's Wild Oats and Scallywag.
Yeah.
But on the back end of the transition, it's reaching conditions, which means the wind's 90, 120 degrees to the boat. And in those conditions, Comanche and InfoTrack are going to be really strong.
Yeah,
so
I'll be up on you, yeah.
Yeah, so for sure in the transition, we've got to try and get far enough ahead to put the elbows out.
But they catch up very quickly too, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, every boat has a real strength in different conditions. The great thing about this race is we're going to have a good chunk of time in everyone's conditions.
But you've done a lot to the boat this year.
Yeah, last year we were a little off the pace when it came to heavy air running, or running, in above sort of 16, 17 knots. And we really need to strengthen the boat there so to stop the bleeding when it's in the Comanche corner. So we're there to pick up the pieces when it gets light or gets back to our corner. So we've modified the boat heavily with that thought in mind.
Are you happy with the modifications?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the nice thing about our modifications is it's not like we're a test bed for this thing. We looked at how Wild Oats went about it a couple of years back and used the same design at Rykel Pew, but we felt like we could take a real step and learn from what they did. So it's like the second generation of what Wild Oats have done to their boat.
Have you got any trick things that you've done, like Wild Oats with front rudders and all that sort of stuff?
Well, in giving credit for people coming up with ideas, that front rudder is actually our idea and they copied that. So we should just try and keep it a little bit real if we're going to give them credit for the bow extension. That's a system we've had in place, and it's a weapon that we've been using against them quite successfully for a couple of years. And so, it's great that they can recognise it and recognise our strengths and switch as well. So, we do have a couple of really nice sails this year. There's been a lot of sail development in the last sort of couple of years in how sails are manufactured, and
your North sails, of
North
course.
sails, yeah, and we've taken a huge step in our downwind inventory, and we have some sails on board that no one else has, with a bit different thinking. So if it falls into our thinking and we get the right conditions for those sails, I'm expecting some good performance from the boat.
Will they help in your reaching and running?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the reaching and running sails. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good. Oh, well, we should be looking forward to some pretty decent competition between you five guys.
Yeah, look, I think it's just going to be close. I mean, anyone that thinks it's not going to be close, for sure. Comanche has a huge advantage in this race. We're all 100 foot long, but they have so much more of everything else that if they play their cards right, they should be getting away from us pretty nicely. The thing that's helping us is that light transition period will slow them down and drag us all back together for a restart.
When are they predicting that?
It'll be sort of between midnight and sunup of the first night.
Always the way, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and it's good it's in the dark, to be honest, because everything's to play for there.
Yeah, it's been some exciting transition periods over the years, hasn't there?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And it raises a lot of questions about how you run your boat in the campaign, and good luck, Rico. So there has been a lot of exciting transitions, normally more in the Derwent, and I think we'll see that again in this race, but it's great to have one in the middle of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Well, good luck. How many people are you taking? 18. 18.
Yep.
All right, well, that's all. So good luck, and we'll hopefully in Hobart we'll see the cup in your hand.
Yeah, let's see. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.